world wraps up the global 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, we're now joined by the UN Women Country Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Beatrice Eyong, to highlight the issues surrounding gender-based violence and a roadmap to women empowerment. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you.
We know that gender-based violence is a pervasive issue in Nigeria globally. Yeah. Behind every statistic is a woman whose potential is being stifled, or a girl. And when you walked in, we were watching the report from the Abia State governor's wife, Priscilla Uti, and I saw you nodding and agreeing to what she was saying, and also the groups just wrapping up this 16 days of activism. How can we ensure that this momentum stays on long after these 16 days of activism? How can we sort of address that gap between when it comes to policy reforms, creating awareness, and getting real life impacts on women?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I am happy to be here to talk about gender-based violence. I am Beatrice Eyong. I represent UN Women. I have been working in this domain for about 40 years in different countries. And what I would say is that gender-based violence, as you said, that is pervasive, is true. And as you said also that we need, that is behind every statistics is a story of a woman. I want to say you are totally right. If you take, for instance, early marriages, which is actually a form of gender-based violence, that is one of the causes why girls are taken away from school. If you take a girl out of school and that girl has not taken time to build her capacities, her skills, her confidence, you take that girl away, what you're doing is perpetuating poverty. And it is a violation of the human rights, because all Nigeria and all African countries have ratified certain rights for the protection and promotion of women. And those rights, those conventions, those judicial texts, it is said that they have preeminence to national laws, which means we can use, for instance, the Convention for the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women in courts. So it has superiority over national laws. But the problem is people don't even know that they exist. People don't know that it can be used in the courts. People don't know, because look, in the issue of rights, you need to know your rights, you need to assert your rights. Nobody will give you a right, you have to take that right, you see. So actually, from those protocols, those judicial texts, from the policies and everything, the first thing is for all of us to know that gender-based violence is bad for everyone. Men should actually know that real men don't commit gender-based violence against women. So you don't need to show your superiority that you are a man by beating your wife, or trying to do things to limit her own limit her from fulfilling her own potentials. You see, so if all of us begin to understand that gender-based violence is not just a problem for an individual. Gender-based violence is negating, it has a detrimental effect on the development of our communities and our economy.
Great. Okay. You said, I mean, you spent about 4 decades in this space, so you've seen it all. We have just ended another 16 days of activism, and I think, just to piggyback to my colleague's question, Nkechi here's, is this symbolic, or are there tangible gains? Because every year we go and have the 16 days of activism, but the statistics remain the same. But you are in the field, you've been there for so long. Tell us, are there any real tangible results?
Yes, I would say there are tangible results. The first thing you realize, because of this sensitization, awareness creation with different stakeholders, they are now becoming aware, and they are actually standing up and saying no to gender-based violence. Take, for instance, our traditional rulers, our royal fathers and our royal mothers. At first, it wouldn't dawn on them that early marriage is gender-based violence. They would simply say, we gave our girl out so that...
The cultural norms.
The cultural norms and all those things. But today, they are being aware of the detrimental effect it has on their families, on their communities, and on even the whole nation.
So awareness is growing from what I hear you say.
It's growing.
Almost at
Another thing,
great.
Awareness is growing. And also, there were topics that we couldn't discuss. Those topics were taboo.
Like?
Yeah, like rape.
Great.
You couldn't do, and then reporting of gender-based violence was an issue. Women felt stigmatized because of the way they were received by society.
Okay. I wanted to bring to, I mean, I don't want to start a gender war here. But you talked about, no, I know, because you mentioned real men, and it's a conversation that's ongoing in Nigeria, because only recently we've heard people clamor for even Ministry of Men in Nigeria. They say one important component that has failed to be included in improving the statistics and changing the narrative is that the men and boys have been left out of this conversation. Do you agree with them? When we talk about multi-sector approach to ending gender-based violence, do you think that we have left the men behind? Is that a conversation? I mean, what do you think we are doing wrongly to have passed this mark?
No, actually, for me, the word women, first of all, is a composite word. W-O stands for women, M-E-N stands for men.
Yes.
So in that word women, we have men and women. And that's why we talk about gender equality. Gender equality is for men and women. We understand we have gender equality. Each time there's gender inequalities, development cannot be sustainable. So what we are doing, the statistics, and what we are seeing on the field is that most of the time when we want to bring gender equality, is the women who are lagging behind.
And affected.
And affected and marginalized, and therefore retarding development. If we want to accelerate development, then we have to work on those who are
affected the most.
Are affected the most and are also lagging behind and retarding development. So, but one thing I must say is that the level to which we have reached with gender equality and women's empowerment is because of the support of the men. So we cannot do gender equality and have tangible results without the men. So we have what a campaign we call, it is their own campaign too, that we have he for she campaign. So those men who are standing for women, for the issues of women, for the issues of gender equality, we have a network of he for she champions in already 16 states of Nigeria, where we have men going out, opening doors, where women could not even go. They are convincing their friends on positive masculinity and all the rest. So this fight is a fight for all stakeholders. Men cannot remain behind. They have supported us to reach where we are, and they cannot allow us, they cannot withdraw their support now. And it is not that men maybe are enemies to women. I just feel that some men don't understand that gender inequality, gender-based violence is also working against them.
And against the whole nation,
and
against economic development. The
Yes.
World Bank estimates that closing gender gaps could add $15 trillion to
Yes.
Nigeria's GDP by 2050. But unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. UN Women Country Representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Beatrice Eyong. We'd love to have you again another time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.